The night was thick with silence, except for the occasional hum of neon signs flickering outside the cramped apartment. Jake hadn't expected this night to be anything special when he had grabbed the keys and unlocked the door to his new place. It was supposed to be a fresh start, a small, somewhat dingy studio on the outskirts of the city, perfect for a guy who mostly kept to himself. But what Jake found in the corner of the basement was anything but ordinary. He didn't know what it was at first. Some kind of pod, sealed tight with strange markings, glowing faintly blue along the edges. The air around it felt oddly charged, like static before a storm. His instincts screamed to back away, but curiosity, dangerous, relentless curiosity, won over. His fingers traced the cool surface, the seal breaking with a hiss that echoed down the silent basement walls. The pod's lid slowly creaked open, revealing a figure curled inside, a figure that wasn't human. At first, Jake thought he was dreaming. The being inside looked like something from a sci-fi movie, slender, pale skin that shimmered subtly, eyes closed as if in deep sleep. The faint outline of delicate antennae peeked out from her hair, and her breathing was slow and rhythmic. Then her eyes snapped open. Suddenly, the room lit up with an otherworldly glow as her body pulsed with energy. Jake stumbled back, heart pounding like a drum. This was no ordinary roommate. "I'm awake," she whispered, voice soft but layered with a strange power that made Jake shiver. The being stepped out of the pod effortlessly, moving with grace, yet an alien precision. She looked at Jake with eyes that held galaxies, deep and infinite, but also confused. "Where am I?" Jake could barely breathe. You're in my basement." She studied him closely. "You freed me." Jake's mind raced. How could he explain this? Who was she? Why was she here? But before he could say anything, she stretched her arms, and suddenly the lights flickered violently. The air crackled. "I'm stronger than I remember," she said, a hint of awe and fear in her voice. Jake swallowed hard. This was just the beginning. The story will continue with Jake trying to understand the aliens' mysterious powers and origins, the unfolding suspense, and the strange bond growing between them. I'll keep writing to reach the full length. Secrets unfold. The morning light filtered weakly through the grimy basement window, casting long shadows across the cold concrete floor. Jake sat on the creaky wooden steps, his head spinning. The previous night's events were almost impossible to believe. He had woken an alien. No, not just an alien. His alien roommate. But who was she really? And why had she been sealed away? In his basement, he glanced toward the corner where the pod had stood, now empty and silent, as if it had never been there. Across the room, she sat quietly, her legs folded beneath her like a statue carved from moonlight. Her silver eyes reflected the morning with an eerie calm, but beneath that calm, Jake sensed a storm. "Do you remember anything?" Jake asked cautiously, breaking the silence. She looked up slowly, eyes searching his. "Fragments," she said. "Flashes of light, faces, a mission maybe, but mostly confusion." Her voice was soft, but every word held weight, as if the memories she struggled to grasp were tied to something much larger than Jake could imagine. Jake rubbed his temples. "Why were you in that pod? And why in my basement?" She hesitated. "I don't know how I got here. I think I was hidden, protected, or perhaps imprisoned." The word imprisoned sent a shiver down Jake's spine. How long had she been there? And who had put her in the pod? His mind flashed back to the strange symbols etched on the pod's surface, unfamiliar alien glyphs that pulsed faintly in the dark. His apartment suddenly felt smaller, more claustrophobic. As Jake reached for his phone to call someone, anyone, the alien woman raised her hand. "Wait!" Her voice was firm now, commanding attention. "You don't understand what you've done." Jake froze. "What do you mean?" She stood, her movements graceful but deliberate. By opening the pod, you've released something unstoppable. Unstoppable? Jake echoed, heart thudding. Her eyes flickered with an inner light. Yes, not just me, but the consequences. Jake swallowed hard. He had unknowingly crossed a line, one that was about to change his life, and possibly the world, forever. The next days blurred into a strange mix of tension and discovery. Jake tried to keep things normal, but the alien roommate, who insisted he call her Neera, was no ordinary houseguest. She learned quickly, absorbing Earth's languages and customs with an eerie efficiency. Yet, every new piece of knowledge seemed to unlock deeper mysteries about her own past. Neera told Jake about her species, the Lyrenth, interstellar travelers with abilities that bent reality. Their homeworld had been torn apart by war, factions fighting for control over a powerful energy source known only as the Etherian. Neera had been sent away, hidden in the pod, to protect the last of the Etherian secrets. But why Earth? Jake asked, the pieces not fitting yet. Because Earth is special, a hidden node in the galaxy's energy web. Many have come here seeking the Etherian's power. Jake felt a chill. If others were searching for this energy, and Neera was its guardian, then his quiet life was now caught in a galactic storm. The tension escalated when Jake noticed people watching him. At first it was subtle, a pair of eyes in the coffee shop, a shadowy figure near his apartment. Then came the strange calls, the unexplained power outages around his block. One evening, as Jake walked home, a car slowed beside him. The driver's window rolled down, revealing a man with cold, unreadable eyes. "Stay away from her," the man warned quietly before speeding off. Jake's heart pounded. Who were these people? And what did they want with Neera? Back at the apartment, Neera sat by the window, her gaze distant. "They're coming," she said softly. "Hunters. They want what I protect." Jake paced. "What can we do?" Neera turned. To him, a mixture of fear and determination in her eyes. "We fight together." As the days went by, Jake found himself drawn into a world far beyond his understanding. His skepticism faded, replaced by a grim reality. The alien beside him was no invader. She was a protector, and together they were the last line of defense against a threat that could destroy Earth. But as Jake's trust in Neera grew, so did the mystery. Who exactly was she running from? And what price would they both have to pay to keep the secret safe? That night, as they prepared for the inevitable, Neera revealed a hidden ability. With a touch, she could manipulate energy, bending light and heat around her. Jake watched in awe and fear as the room shimmered with waves of power. "I need to be ready," she said, "to protect you, to protect this world." Jake nodded, the weight of his new reality settling in. Outside, the city lights flickered, and somewhere in the shadows, the hunters closed in. Cliffhanger. Suddenly, the power in the apartment cut out. In the darkness, a faint, menacing glow appeared at the window, a figure watching them, waiting. Jake's breath caught. The hunt had begun. The hunters arrive. The blackout was sudden and complete, swallowing the basement apartment in total darkness. Jake's heart pounded wildly in his chest as his eyes struggled to adjust. The faint glow at the window pulsed, a low, ominous red that cut through the black like a blade. Neera's hand found his, warm and steady, grounding him in the chaos. "They've found us," she whispered. Before Jake could react, a heavy thud shook the front door, followed by muffled voices speaking in a language he didn't understand. His mind raced. Who were these hunters, and how had they tracked Neera here? "Stay close," Neera said, her body tense like a coiled spring. With a flick of her wrist, the faint glow around them grew brighter, illuminating the room with a soft, bluish light. The door rattled violently under another blow. Jake's instincts screamed to run. but Neera held him back. "No," she said, firmly. "We face this together." Suddenly, the door exploded inward, splinters flying as three shadowy figures burst into the room, their eyes glowing faintly with a red hue. They moved with practiced precision, weapons drawn, scanning the basement with cold calculation. One of them spoke, voice clipped and harsh. "Surrender the Lyrenth." Neera's eyes flashed silver. "You won't find her here," she said, her voice calm but fierce. The room erupted into chaos. Jake barely had time to react as the attackers lunged. Neera moved like lightning, energy crackling from her fingertips, throwing one assailant back. With a blast that shattered the concrete wall, another charged with a weapon glowing in the dark, but Neera twisted in midair, dodging effortlessly. Jake's world spun. This wasn't just a fight. It was war, fought in the shadows of his own home. Desperate, Jake grabbed a broken piece of wood from the floor, swinging blindly at the nearest intruder. To his surprise, the attacker stumbled, stunned by the sheer force of Jake's will. Neera glanced at him, a flicker of pride in her eyes. "You're stronger than you know." Together they fought side by side, Jake's raw courage matching Neera's supernatural power, but the hunters were relentless. After a brutal exchange, two of the attackers lay unconscious, but the third was different. He stepped forward, his eyes glowing brighter, revealing a hidden power of his own. "You cannot protect her," he hissed, voice cold as ice. "The Etherion belongs to our people." Neera's stance hardened. "The Etherion is not yours to claim." With a roar, the hunter unleashed a surge of dark energy, slamming Neera against the far wall. Jake's heart leapt into his throat as she crumpled, struggling to rise. "No!" Jake shouted, rushing to her side. Summoning every ounce of strength, Neera pushed herself up, energy flaring wildly around her. "I won't let you win." The battle escalated, shaking the very foundation of the building. Suddenly, the hunter's eyes flickered, and he vanished, leaving behind a chilling warning. This is only the beginning. Jake helped Neera to her feet, both panting and battered. "What now?" Jake asked, fear and determination mixing in his voice. "We prepare," Neera said. "They will come again, stronger and more numerous." Jake looked around his shattered home, now a battlefield. His life was no longer his own. Over the next days, Jake and Neera worked in secret, fortifying the apartment and learning to control their new reality. Neera taught Jake about her species' abilities, the power to manipulate energy, heal wounds, and tap into cosmic forces beyond human comprehension. But the hunter's presence loomed like a storm cloud. One evening, a mysterious message appeared. On Jake's phone, an encrypted warning. "Trust no one. The real enemy is closer than you think." Jake's mind raced. Who could have sent it? And what did it mean? That night, as Jake lay awake, shadows shifted outside his window. A soft knock came at the door. Neera tensed. Jake opened it cautiously to find a figure cloaked in darkness. A woman with piercing green eyes and a calm, knowing smile. "I'm here to help," she said simply. Cliffhanger. As the stranger stepped inside, Jake realized the fight for Earth's future was far from over, and the allies he needed might come from the most unexpected places. Allies and betrayals. The stranger's eyes gleamed in the dim light of Jake's broken basement apartment. "I'm called Celine," she said, voice steady but urgent, "and I know what's coming." Jake felt a flicker of hope, but also deep uncertainty. "How do you know about the hunters? About Neera?" Celine's gaze shifted to Neera, who sat quietly on the torn couch, still recovering from the brutal fight. "Because I was one of them, once." The room went cold. Jake's grip tightened around a shattered piece of wood he'd been holding. "Wait," Neera said softly, her eyes locked on Celine. "You betrayed your own kind." Celine nodded. "I left because I couldn't stand what they were doing. The Etherion isn't meant to be a weapon. It's a gift and a responsibility." Jake exchanged a wary glance with Neera. Could they trust her? Before they could speak, The walls trembled. A distant explosion rocked the building. The hunters had returned, and they were no longer subtle. "We don't have much time," Celine warned. "They're coming in force. We need to move." Jake and Nira helped Celine gather supplies. The basement apartment, once a sanctuary, was now a battleground and a trap. Celine explained more about the hunters, called the Wraith, and their obsession with capturing Nira. They believe the Etherian is the key to ultimate power, and Nira's awakening has upset the balance. Jake tried to process it all. "So I'm basically living with a cosmic weapon." Nira gave a small, rueful smile. "More like a catalyst." Celine pulled out a small device from her cloak, flicking it on to reveal a holographic map dotted with red markers. "These are their bases, right here on Earth." "We have to destroy them," Jake said. Celine shook her head. "No, too risky. But if we can disrupt their communication and cut off their reinforcements, we can buy time." As they planned, the bond between Jake and Nira deepened. Nights were filled with whispered conversations, shared fears, and fragile moments of laughter. Jake saw beyond her alien exterior to the vulnerable being trapped between worlds, but the pressure mounted. Every day brought new attacks, new close calls. Jake's ordinary life was gone, replaced by a desperate fight for survival. One night, Celine pulled Jake aside. "There's something else you need to know." Jake's stomach tightened. "What?" Celine hesitated. "The hunters weren't the only ones watching you." Meanwhile, deep within a hidden underground lab, a group of shadowy figures observed monitors filled with images of Jake and Nira. One man, cold and calculating, spoke in a clipped tone. "They've attracted unwanted attention. Prepare the next phase." A woman beside him nodded. "The Etherian's power could change everything. We must control it, no matter the cost." Jake didn't know it yet, but the danger was far greater than alien hunters. Back in the apartment, Celine revealed her true mission. "I'm here to protect Nira and you, but my past is complicated. I owe the Wraith a debt." Jake's trust wavered. "Why should we believe you?" Before Celine could answer, the building's emergency alarm blared. The hunters were breaking through. "Get ready," Nira said, standing tall despite her exhaustion. The battle was brutal and chaotic. Energy blasts lit the room as Jake, Nira, and Celine fought side by side. Celine's skills were unmatched, her moves precise and deadly. Jake found himself pushed to his limits, fighting not just for survival, but for the fragile hope they'd built. At one point, Celine caught Jake's eye, a flicker of regret in her expression. "There's more I haven't told you." But there was no time. As the last hunter fell, silence engulfed the apartment. Nira collapsed, panting heavily. Jake knelt beside her, heart racing. "We're not safe," Celine said quietly. "The real war is just beginning." Cliffhanger. In the shadows outside, the cold eyes of a new enemy watched, smiling. Their plan was unfolding perfectly, and Jake's world was about to be shattered forever. Shattered trust and rising shadows. The cold night air bit through the cracked windows as Jake sat silently, his mind racing with the events that had unfolded. Nira rested quietly beside him, still weak but determined. Celine stood near the door, scanning the shadows outside like a predator awaiting its next move. For the first time, Jake felt the weight of the true scale of their situation. This wasn't just a fight for survival. It was a battle for something far bigger, something that could change humanity's fate. Celine's revelation haunted him. "There's more I haven't told you." The words echoed in Jake's mind, unanswered questions swirling like a storm. He needed to know the truth. "Nira, Celine," Jake said firmly, "I need to understand everything. No more secrets." Celine glanced at Nira before nodding slowly. "You deserve that much." The story Celine told was darker than Jake could have imagined. She revealed that the Etherian was not simply a power source or a weapon, but a living, sentient energy connected to an ancient alien race. The Wraith Hunters were merely mercenaries hired by a covert human organization called the Consortium, who sought to harness the Etherians' power for their own control over the world. Selene herself had been part of the Consortium's elite forces, trained to capture and contain alien energies. But witnessing their ruthless methods had forced her to defect, risking everything to protect Nera. Jake's disbelief turned to anger. So, humans are hunting her too? Yes, Selene confirmed. And they've been manipulating events from the shadows for decades. Nera's voice was barely a whisper. They don't understand what they're playing with. Suddenly the apartment shook violently, a heavy blast from outside. The Consortium had found them. Prepare yourselves, Selene warned. This time they're bringing everything they have. The battle outside was unlike any before. Advanced weaponry clashed with alien energy in a terrifying display. Jake fought alongside Nera and Selene, adrenaline surging through his veins as the world blurred into chaos. Amidst the fighting, Jake caught sight of a new figure, a man in a sleek, black suit, commanding the Consortium's forces with icy precision. His eyes met Jake's for a moment, filled with cold calculation. In the midst of the chaos, Jake's phone buzzed with an encrypted message. He read it quickly, heart pounding. "Meet me at the docks. Midnight. Trust no one. Signed, unknown." Jake's instincts screamed to follow the lead, but the battlefield left no room for hesitation. He made a split decision. "Nera, Selene, I'm going. This might be our only chance." The docks were a maze of rusted ships and flickering lights. Jake's breath came in shallow gasps as he scanned the shadows. Suddenly, a figure stepped forward, tall, cloaked, face hidden beneath a hood. "Who are you?" Jake demanded, hand inching toward his pocket knife. The figure lowered the hood, revealing a familiar face. Maya, Jake's old college friend, now a whistleblower inside the Consortium. "I've been trying to reach you," she said urgently. "They lied to you, Jake. The Consortium wants to control the Etherian to dominate humanity, through fear, through war." Jake's world tilted. Maya's betrayal? Or was it her salvation? Maya pulled out a small device, showing intercepted files exposing the Consortium's darkest secrets, experiments on humans, alien prisoners, and plans for a global takeover. "You need to get this to the world," Maya said. "But first, you need to survive the next attack." Jake's resolve hardened. "Then let's stop running." Back at the apartment, Nera and Selene prepared defenses. The Consortium's forces were closing in fast. Suddenly, a deafening explosion shattered the ground beneath them. The building trembled, dust filling the air. Jake raced back, narrowly dodging debris. Inside, he found Nera unconscious, her body glowing faintly as Etherian energy pulsed beneath her skin. Selene was badly wounded, blood seeping from her arm. "We have to get her to safety," Jake said, lifting Nera gently. They escaped into the night. The city transformed into a battlefield. Allies turned into enemies. Trust was scarce. At a hidden safe house, Maya revealed her own scars, betrayed by the Consortium, hunted like Nera. Together, they formed a fragile alliance, united by the hope of stopping a catastrophe. But even in their union, shadows lurked. That night, Jake lay awake, haunted by Selene's warning, "Trust no one." A soft knock came at the door. He opened it slowly. Standing there was a familiar face, Agent Caldwell, the Consortium's top enforcer. "Surprised to see me?" Caldwell smirked. "Cliffhanger." Before Jake could react, Caldwell lunged forward, and everything went black. The unstoppable truth. Jake's world collapsed into darkness as Caldwell's grip tightened around him. Pain exploded through his side, breath knocked out, but even in that haze, his mind raced. This was the final battle, not just for survival, but for the future of everything he believed in. When Jake finally opened his eyes, he was bound in. A dimly lit room, the faint hum of machines surrounding him. Caldwell stood across, a cold smile stretching on his face. "Did you really think it would be that easy?" Caldwell's voice was cruel, unyielding. "The consortium controls everything. You're just a pawn in a game you don't understand." Jake's jaw clenched. "You forget, pawns can become kings." Outside, Neera and Selene fought their own battle. Despite her injuries, Selene was resolute. "Neera, we don't have time to waste. The Etherian inside you, it's more powerful than they know. You can stop this." Neera's eyes glowed softly, the alien energy surging. "I'm ready, for humanity, for our future." Together, they launched a desperate assault against the consortium's base, a fortress of steel and shadows, but vulnerable to the light Neera now wielded. Inside, Jake struggled against his bindings, mind focused on the encrypted files Maya had entrusted to him. They were the key to exposing the consortium's lies. Caldwell approached, holding a device that pulsed with dark energy. "If you cooperate, this can all end. Hand over Neera, and I promise no more pain." Jake spat. "You don't deserve mercy." Suddenly the door burst open. Neera and Selene stood there, energy blazing like stars. "You're finished, Caldwell," Neera said, voice steady, fierce. Caldwell sneered, activating the device. But as the energy surged, Neera's power reacted, absorbing it, amplifying it. The room flooded with blinding light. When the light faded, Caldwell lay unconscious, his device shattered. Jake was free. Maya appeared from the shadows, handing over a portable drive. "Everything is on this. The truth about the consortium, their experiments, their crimes." Jake nodded. "It's time the world knew." Days later, the files went viral. News outlets, social media, governments. Everyone saw the truth. The consortium's grip weakened as public outrage grew. Neera became a symbol of hope, her story inspiring unity between humans and alien life. Selene, once a hunted soldier, found peace fighting alongside those who believed in a better future. Jake stood on a rooftop, watching the dawn. He thought about the journey, how an accidental awakening had turned into a revolution. He turned to Neera, who smiled softly. "We were unstoppable because we chose to be," she said. Final lesson. Sometimes the greatest power isn't alien technology or secret organizations. It's the courage to stand for truth, to fight for what's right, and to believe in the impossible. Humanity's strength lies not just in survival, but in connection, hope, and relentless spirit. The end.